What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. Today we're going to talk about the Switch 2. Ah yes, the Switch 2. Super controversial, tons of leaks. It's all that anybody's been talking about the last few years, and here we are now, and I finally got one. I was a little late to get mine, a couple months late, but still not nearly as late as I was to the Switch 1, because with the Switch 1, I was about 3 or 4 years into the console's life cycle before I wound up purchasing one. But I fell in love with it and amassed quite the library of games on there and did several videos on the Switch 1 and why I liked it and different games and stuff. The Switch 2, I knew I was definitely going to get one regardless of what anybody else was saying. We're going to talk about the good and we're going to talk about the bad, and we're going to try to see if we can help you make a decision on whether or not you want to purchase it. So the first thing I'll say about the Switch 2 is when I was unboxing it, it's quite beefy. It's way bigger. You can immediately look at the thing, which we knew this from the leaks, but like in person is way different than, seeing a video online. At least for me it is. Got the thing unboxed, started transferring some of the data, did all the signing up, blah, blah, blah. And I got the Switch 2 bundle that came with Mario Kart World, and we also picked up a copy of Cyberpunk 2077 because I knew I wanted to purchase that to support CD Projekt Red because they're one of the few third parties that actually put their game fully on the cartridge. The screen is remarkably bright. A lot of people were saying that, well, how can you justify the price increase of the Nintendo Switch 2 when it's an LCD screen and not an OLED? The screen is phenomenal. I can't really tell that much of a difference, if any difference for that matter, when I'm holding the Switch OLED and the Switch 2 side by side looking at the same images on screen at max brightness in the same light setting as you can see here on screen. And I don't know if that's because, I just, don't understand the lumens or the specs or what everybody's talking about, or if it's because I'm blind. And it could be because I'm blind, and you may not want to trust my opinion in this matter. I don't know, really. But for me, personally, I can't tell a difference. So the screen, not really a downgrade. If anything, I think it's an upgrade. It's way larger. It seems brighter to me. Again, I could be wrong. Then we have to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. I'm also going to use Fortnite here in this. The comparison between, we'll start with Fortnite. Fortnite on Switch 1 was unplayable, at least for me. The only people that were playing Fortnite on Switch 1 were kids or, adults who didn't have access to any other console. So no Xbox, no PlayStation, no PC, nothing. They didn't have access to any other platform to play it on. I could not personally play Fortnite on the Switch 1. I tried. But on the Switch 2, it runs great. It's way better, and I think it's probably going to get updates and stuff for the Switch 2 version more than likely that'll make it run a little bit smoother. We're still really early into this thing's life cycle, but realistically, there's no reason you can't hop on and play a couple matches and have a good time. Cyberpunk 2077. So in quality mode, the Switch 2 is locked in at 30 FPS, 720 to 1080p resolution if it's dot, 480p to 810 if it's handheld with DLSS, helping to maintain the visual fidelity. Now in performance mode, it is targeting around 40 FPS. I haven't ran any numbers, so I don't know exactly where it's at with this, but it seems to run fine. I've had no problems with it, nothing game breaking or anything that like's real sluggish. It seems to run great. Actually, I'm very impressed with it, especially considering the size of the cartridge, because in my install folder it shows that it's only 3.2 gigabytes, which is weird. Very weird, considering that on almost every other console like PlayStation, PC, Xbox, I called PC a console, deal with it. It's like 80 gigabytes. So CD Projekt Red completely re-engineered the game in order to, fit it on the cartridge and sell it physically, full game and DLC on the cartridge. And it runs great. I mean, it really does. I have nothing bad to say about it. I'm still playing through it. I haven't got to the DLC yet, so I might update this later on in a future video and let you know if I ran into any problems, but I've made it several hours in, and it seems to be working fine. So let's talk about a few other things with the Switch 2. Mario Kart World. Was it worth $80? Is it too expensive? Did Nintendo scam us? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Look, I'm not going to get into too much whether or not I think $80 is the right price for a video game, because I feel like no matter which side of the fence you lay on with that, you're probably getting something wrong, in my opinion. So the game's fun. I haven't had time to explore everything. Like I said, I've only had the Switch 2 for a little over a week, and I've been trying to cram tons of games into that week, you know? So back to Mario Kart. Again, it's fine. It's Mario Kart, you know. Do I think it's worth $80? This is not the place for that conversation. Now let's talk about a
negative thing.
Here's the only complaint I really have with this. I haven't done an actual test to find out what battery life I'm getting from the Switch 2 when playing in handheld, but I will say this. It dies pretty quick. Now, obviously, the Switch 2 is more demanding. It's playing games at higher frame rates, higher resolutions. So it's way more demanding than the Switch 1, even the Switch 1 OLED with the better screen that it's powering and all that. The Switch 2 is playing games at a rate that the Switch 1 never could. So the battery is obviously going to die faster. But in tests that other YouTubers have done, including some tech YouTubers like Austin Evans and them, they've done tests and they've said that, you know, comparatively to the Steam Deck, realistically the battery is not bad to other handhelds. And it's whisper quiet. I've not heard the fans on this thing once while playing Cyberpunk. I really don't think that the battery's great. I hope in future iterations of the Switch 2 they are able to increase the battery life, or I don't know if there's a firmware update they can push through to increase the battery life. I don't know. But the battery sucks, so you're definitely going to want to have a battery bank or a charger with you at any point if you're carrying this thing around with you. I would recommend getting a battery bank, personally. The battery is like the only complaint that I really have with the Switch 2. I haven't had any other problems as far as like installing my games and getting my save data and things like that. Honestly, I think the new menu options that you have, there's a ton of settings in here, obviously, because you can change the performance mode for games and stuff that I haven't really played around with. There's one cool thing that I liked about it. If you go to missions and rewards, you can, and I'm sure they're going to add more than this, you can spend your silver coins that you've earned, you know, that have been attached to your Nintendo account if you had a Switch 1. You can use your silver coins to buy these little profile pictures and backgrounds and different things, and you can mix and match them from different categories, and you can create custom profile pictures with those stickers or whatever. I think that's pretty neat. Customizing your profile picture is cool and everything. I mean, it is another level of personalization. I do wish that they would add, you know, like third-party images or Nintendo first-party licensed images that you could use as a background or for a theme instead of just dark mode and light mode. I cannot, it's 2025. Can we get pictures? I guess that's kind of a complaint, but you know, other than that, it's not something that's going to keep me from buying a Switch 2 is what I'm getting at. But it does suck. I do want more personalization. The game sharing feature, I think this is really cool because you're able to share a game that only you own with up to 3 other devices locally, and that includes Switch 1. So like if I have a game that's multiplayer and I want to play it with my kids and my wife, they can get their Switch 1s out and their Switch Lites, and I can game share the game to them, and we're all playing on our own separate screen. I think that's really, really, really cool. Again, another thing that I really like about it is the upgraded versions that give it a little bit smoother gameplay, a little bit better resolution of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. There's a lot of people complaining about that. I'm not getting into the whole price debate with people because there's just no point. It's a losing argument. If you say anything remotely positive about Nintendo, you're a fanboy or a shill. If you say anything negative about it, you're a hater. It's just there's no point in getting into this conversation. What I will say is that I booted up Tears of the Kingdom. I got the upgrade for free because, and I'm going to do it with Breath of the Wild 2, do a side-by-side comparison in some future videos, but the upgrade I got for free really because I have the family expansion pack. I've had that since I got my Switch 1. When I got the Switch 1, I got the family pack, so we all had online, so we could all play games together and stuff like that. I've never been a fan of having to pay to play with people online. But the only way to really circumvent that is through PC like Steam, and I don't. It's not that bad with Nintendo because it's not as expensive. That's all I'm gonna say about the price wise of it. So I got the upgrade pack, and Tears of the Kingdom, I'm going to have to do some exploring, and Breath of the Wild, I'm going to have to do some exploring on Switch 1 and Switch 2, and get some video footage and compare them side by side before I really comment on it. I will say I booted up Tears of the Kingdom, but it's hard to tell just from, playing it for 20 minutes. It does look cleaner. It looks like it runs a lot smoother, so I'll see what things I can find and uncover in that. The built-in mic on top of the Switch 2. I don't know what it sounds like coming through it to someone else, but I was playing the other day with my nephew. We were playing Fortnite. He was on his PlayStation, I was on my Switch, and I put my earbud in and was talking through, had this sitting on my lap, and I was talking through the mic and that, and he said it sounded pretty fine. He said it sounded good. It wasn't great quality, obviously, but he said it sounded good, considering it was built in, because I was explaining to him how I was talking to him and stuff like that. So I only have that to go off of. I will say I think it's a neat feature because everything's like right built into it. You know what I mean? You don't really have to have a mic, have a headset, and carry all that stuff with you. So it's not revolutionary. Game chat's been around for a long time, but I like the way that they did it. The mouse mode, I haven't done a full tutorial on this. As far as for myself and like used it and like played tons of mouse games. There's not really a ton of mouse games out yet. But what I have used, it seems very intuitive. It seems good. I do wish that Nintendo would license official mouse holders, because it's a little awkward holding it the way that you hold it. Now, one thing I saw some of the other YouTubers talking about a little over a month ago was that when you go onto the eShop, there was no way to differentiate the Switch 2 lineup of games from the Switch 1 lineup of games, because the eShop's the eShop. So you go to the search and browse feature, and there's a red bar, and you can't really see it that well. I know you can see the bar, but you can't see it because of the glare from my lights. I've got too many lights over here. It says Nintendo Switch 2, and you can pull it up, and it'll show you all the games that are optimized or made for a Switch 2. And there's quite a bit of them, actually. I haven't counted them. I would say there's probably about 40 games there. They're not all necessarily new. They just may be upgraded versions of Switch 1 games. One of the other things about the eShop that is really cool is, well, not really cool, but that really caught me off guard was the fact that it's very snappy. It's very quick now. Switch 1, still, you load the eShop up and it's like... You load up the Switch 2 and it's pretty quick. It's way faster than the Switch 1 eShop ever was. And I guess that's the processing power, or they have two separate versions of it. I'm not sure how that works, to be honest with you. One of the other things that we got with the Switch 2 was the little PD Piranha plant camera. I haven't used this yet with like in the game chat, but there is a test mode. The reason we got the PD Piranha plant instead of the regular Switch camera, one, it was a little bit cheaper, and two is because it comes out of the pot and you can stick it in top of the Switch too, and when you put it in there you can play in handheld with the camera on there. Now again, you can test the camera. Here's a little bit of footage of the camera. It's not that bad, it's not great, but I just thought this was neat because I mean, it's so compact and you can fit it with everything. And if you want to share your game or talk to your friends in voice chat, video chat while you're playing your Switch 2, you can. I think it's cool. Overall build quality compared to the Switch 1. I apologize, guys. This is a long video, okay? Look, I haven't been here in a while, and I got a lot of things I want to say. Plus, I'm lonely. Don't leave. I need someone to talk to. I really think this thing feels beefier in comparison to the Switch 1. They're probably about the same weight. I don't know. This feels a little bit heavier, actually, the OLED for some reason. I don't know. So, quality of life improvements over the Switch OLED and the Switch 2. First of all, it's massive. It's way bigger. The Switch 2 Joy-Cons, I don't know why, but this is what they should have done the entire time. This magnetic, listen to this. The magnetic Joy-Cons snapping in and out. I like the mechanism. It's very sturdy. There is a little bit of flex in this, but who the hell is prying their Joy-Cons towards them when they're playing. Who does that? Take care of your stuff, freaking weirdos. But I do think it is a massive improvement over the rail system. I do think the rail system is maybe, yeah, there's a lot more flex there. Nah, it's hard to say. Nah, there's definitely a lot of flex there, yeah. All in all, I really don't have that many complaints about the Switch 2 yet. Doesn't mean that my opinion's not subject to change in the next few months or, 6 months or whatever, especially if something crazy happens, like when the 360 came out and there was the red ring of death after 6 months to a year. If something crazy like that happens, some major malfunction, I might have some more gripes. Or there could just be other little things that piss me off. End of the day, you make a decision. You let me know what you think. Do you have a Switch 2? Are you going to get a Switch 2? Do you think Nintendo's greedy? I'm sure you're going to let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot. I'll see you all later.